Hi there. If you're thinking of moving to the great state of Arizona, there's some things that you should know. We're going to give you the good, the bad, and the weird coming up right now. One thing in Phoenix that I thought was really strange when I moved here from the Midwest. I'm from Nebraska and moved here from Iowa because we had bought an acreage in Iowa. And one thing that was weird was when we bought our house, they did not do a survey. In Iowa, every time you bought and sold, there was a survey done, even if it was just a year or two. So I thought that was strange. The other thing, when I came to Arizona, I would see yards that had 2 or 3, 4 inches of water just covered. They were flooded. And my thought was they had gotten a lot of rain. Something had happened and flooded these people's yards. Little did I know that is flood irrigation. And if you are a horse property owner, you may love that because it makes your property a little bit cooler. It does make it more humid and you have more opportunity for mosquitoes. But it is a really, really nice thing in the summer because you can put Bermuda in your pastures and your horses will be grazed on green pastures. Now, if you're a horse owner, you know that's not always all it's cracked up to be too, and we have to limit it with some of our horses that want to eat more than they should. But I love it. I live on an irrigated horse property and it's been truly amazing. The other thing was with flood irrigation is it was set up by the Native Americans and everything is done on gravity. It's very inexpensive to water. We have a little bit over an acre and we pay less than $85 a year to water and have big trees. We have green grass. We have deciduous trees. Emma gives me a hard time about how I say that. But it's really interesting because of course we're in a desert climate. So a lot of trees that grow in the desert are evergreens, and we actually have pistache trees. We actually have evergreen trees. We have pine trees. We have what else do we have? We have some elm trees. We have some Arizona ash, and so we have some really beautiful trees that grow very, very large because of the flood irrigation. The other thing that's kind of weird in Arizona that flood irrigation can attract is scorpions. Typically in the Phoenix area, you're going to find bark scorpions. They're the smaller scorpions. They can be very painful. I have been stung. I bet I've been stung upwards of 15 times. It's so different. A lot of times people will compare it to a bee sting. I do not think it is like a bee sting. Because it is a neurotoxin. People do not have allergies to scorpions the way they do to bees. But I've been stung and it barely hurts at all. And I've been stung and my entire body went numb, including my feet and my throat. And that was the last time, which was last summer. I had just had some hay delivered. I held onto the hay and leaned over to get something. And there was one in the hay and it stung my hand several times. I never did find the little booger, but we do see them. I actually have some videos on here. One night I was sitting outside on my patio and you get to where you can spot them from, 20 feet, maybe 20 yards, I don't know. But I do not like them, and they are something that the first time my son got stung, I called poison control and they said, just calm down. Nobody's died since 1963. And that was a very compromised elderly man. And so basically, it's not something that's fun, but it's also not something that's super dangerous. So a lot of people are really scared of them. In Arizona, they do have to disclose, the seller has to disclose if they've ever seen a scorpion, and I guarantee pretty much every house has seen, or every seller has seen a scorpion in their house. There's things you can do. They don't like diatomaceous earth. You can sprinkle that around the outside of your house. The very best thing you can do is, number one, remove their food supply. So you can do that with regular spraying of, for crickets and things like that. And that will help. And you can also seal your house. My husband, we had old brick on the front of our house. He tore all of that off and we put stone on it. So once they did this, when they tore it off, he took foam, he filled in every single hole that possibly could come into our house. And that actually helped a lot. Also, removing water supplies can help because they do like to hang where there's water. And sometimes that's why flood irrigation does attract them. The other thing weird in Arizona is we have subterranean termites. And we have some videos about this as well. You can just type in termites and you'll find them. But the termites here, I've seen them hanging from the ceiling. They make little mud tubes. I've seen them coming out of the light sockets. I've seen them coming out of the electrical sockets. I've seen some pretty intense situations. We actually have even seen one where they had a laminate floor and the termites ate all the way around the perimeter of that house. So if you walked but close to the wall, you would fall through the floor because the termites had eaten it and hollowed everything out. It's not the same as termites on the coast in the coastal areas. You know, those are extreme. You have to catch them quickly or they'll just mow your house down. They're also very difficult to treat. You have to tent the whole house. In Arizona, they go around the exterior of the house and they treat it. It's very easy, fast, and it's not very expensive. And pretty much every house in Arizona either has them, has had them, or will have them. They're very, very common. And we walk you through that when we're talking about that. Let's see, some of the other weird things in Arizona. You know, there's a lot of flooding. If you go in some of the areas in the West Valley, we always want to check the entire valley is pretty much in a flood zone. But there's some more intense flood zones where flood insurance is required. And I mean, that's if you're getting financing. If you're paying cash, you won't have flood insurance, but I want to make sure that we always check that because when you go to sell, that'll come up again. And sometimes it can really affect your financing. Some of the other weird things in Arizona that I thought were kind of weird were some of the plants. There is a plant called an oleander. It's beautiful. It's quick growing. A lot of people put it on the back of their properties as hedges. If you have horses or animals, that plant is highly, highly poisonous. It's actually the most poisonous plant in the world. And I know when I first came here, there was a couple of guys down the river that stripped the leaves off of it and they roasted some hot dogs on them and killed them. I personally have had a couple of experiences with them. There was a lady that owned a house and she had lived there for 9 years and had horses and had these oleanders and they'd never touched them. And one day all of her horses ate them and it killed all of them. She had 9 horses and it killed them all. My personal experience, other personal experience, I should say, was we had a small oleander bush. We planted it when we moved in. We thought it was a good idea because they sold them. And we had a baby goat that just went over, didn't even have teeth yet, and just kind of nibbled on it a little bit. And within 2 minutes, that goat was dead. So we always educate you on plants, wildlife, anything that is going to affect you wanting to live here. We want you to know the good, the bad, the ugly, the weird. And thinking of what else we have, the weather can be kind of weird. Everybody says, oh, it's a dry heat. It gets very hot. I know when I moved here, I was in my 20s and I got blisters from my seatbelt. You know, coming from Nebraska, it got hot, but it was never, ever like that. And if you do have grass and flood irrigation, certain times of the year, it does get more humid. Mosquitoes can get bad in August. I had my horse was getting eaten by mosquitoes out in the pasture, so I pulled him in and would spray him every night because it can get very, very intense. What else? Well, you know, if you'd like to set up a time for a tour, if you're coming here, we'd love to be able to take you around, show you a few homes. Sometimes when people come here, they're just checking out the area. I'm happy to visit with you about any area that you're considering. If you have horse property, there's certain areas that are flood irrigated and zoned for horses. If you are just looking for a single family home, we can certainly help you with that too, as we do sell homes and horse property. But we'd love to hear from you. You can schedule right from our YouTube channel. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. It certainly helps us out, and we very much appreciate you doing that. If you'd like to receive regular notifications, we post videos weekly, and almost every day we're posting videos. So if you want notifications, click that bell, and so you don't miss out on anything. We look forward to hearing from you. And next time I'll have my daughter Emma on here as well, as she's the one that works with me. All right, take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.